Iran's recent diplomatic push to get its hands on advanced Chinese J-10C fighter jets and, crucially, AWACS equipment. That's airborne warning and control systems. Imagine this: a single strategic move. A decision about military hardware that doesn't just, update an inventory list, but actually sends shockwaves across an entire region, forces nations to completely rethink how they defend themselves. That's really the world we're stepping into today. We're going to explore a really fascinating and potentially game-changing development.
Right. And this isn't just guesswork. The basis for this deep dive comes from solid reports. We saw several Arabic media outlets reporting on this back on June 27th, 2025. And then Defense News Aerospace 2025 picked it up and highlighted it on June 29th. And these reports, they specifically point to a pretty significant visit by Iran's defense minister to China. That's where these high-level talks kicked off.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is clear then. We want to unpack the real weight of this potential deal. What's driving Iran here? What can these advanced systems actually do? And maybe most importantly, what are the wider implications for air superiority, for geopolitical stability, in what's already, let's face it, a very tense Middle East? Okay, so let's start right there. The immediate context. Iranian defense minister, high-level talks in China. The shopping list is specific. Chengdu J-10C fighters, those AWACS systems. What's really behind this shift, this pivot to China?
Well, it's fascinating because it's more than just buying planes. It signals a very deliberate strategic shift in Tehran's thinking about defense procurement. And you can draw a direct line from this to the delays, the really prolonged and frankly frustrating delays with Russia. Iran was expecting Su-35 fighters, modern Russian jets, back in spring 2023. They'd apparently already paid, but the jets just haven't shown up. And that, understandably raises big questions in Tehran about Moscow's reliability as a defense supplier.
Right, which really just underscores Iran's urgent need, doesn't it? Their Air Force needs modernizing badly. I mean, you're talking about an Air Force that's still flying F-14s, F-5s, F-4s, legacy American fighters from decades ago.
Yeah.
It's technology from a totally different era.
Exactly. And that's where the J-10C suddenly looks very attractive. Getting these jets would be a, quote, significant leap in air combat capability for Iran. It's not just swapping old for new. It pushes their Air Force much, much closer to that fifth-generation threshold. That benchmark for modern air power stealth, advanced sensors, networking. The J-10C is considered 4.5 gen, so it brings in a lot of those advanced features, even without full stealth. It bridges a huge gap for them.
So let's dig into the J-10C itself, the Chengdu J-10C. What makes this aircraft stand out?
It's a very capable platform, a multi-role fighter. Key things to note, it's got an ESA radar, active electronically scanned array. That gives it much better situational awareness, target tracking, just a world away from older radar types. Plus, advanced avionics, thrust vectoring engines for agility, and critically, it can carry PL-15 long-range air-to-air missiles. These are serious, beyond visual range threats.
And you mentioned multi-role. That's key too, right? It's not just for dogfights. It's built for air superiority, but also ground attack, even complex electronic warfare missions. How does that versatility play out for Iran's potential needs?
Precisely. It's not a one-trick pony. That multi-role design means Iran could use it across the board, defending airspace against modern intruders, hitting ground targets with precision-guided weapons, maybe even jamming enemy radar or communications. And it's not just theory. We've seen it perform well with the Pakistan Air Force. They've run exercises, apparently simulating combat against Indian Rafale F-3R jets, and the J-10C reportedly showed a real edge in those high-threat scenarios. So that gives you a concrete example of its potential effectiveness.
Okay, now let's shift to the strategic chessboard, the Middle East. Clearly, Iran sees the J-10C as a way to counter, or at least challenge, the Israeli Air Force's capabilities. How does the J-10C actually stack up against Israel's, very advanced fleet?
Yeah, connecting it to that regional picture is vital. And we need to be clear here. The J-10C is definitely a credible aircraft, a serious upgrade for Iran. But it's probably not an outright peer competitor to Israel's top-tier asset, the F-35I Adir stealth fighter. The F-35I has major advantages: stealth, sensor fusion, electronic warfare suites that usually give Israel the edge, give them air superiority in most situations.
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? What about that ESI radar on the J-10C and those long-range PL-15 missiles? Could they pose a real threat, specifically to Israel's non-stealth aircraft, like their F-15I Ram Strike Eagles or the upgraded F-16I Sufajets? Especially if things get messy in contested airspace.
That's the crucial point. Absolutely, yes. While the F-35 might be in a different category, the J-10C, particularly with that advanced radar looking out and those long-range missiles, could make life very difficult for those non-stealth platforms, the F-15s, the F-16s. But the real kicker, the thing that multiplies the threat, is if Iran gets the AWACS-CS systems they're asking for from China too. Because those AWACS-CS planes would, quote, greatly enhance Iranian situational awareness and coordination.
Yeah. They could spot targets much farther out and guide the J-10Cs onto them much more effectively. That combination is potentially quite potent.
Okay, so let's focus on that other piece of the puzzle then. The AWACS-CS, Airborne Warning and Control Systems. You're saying they're just as important as the fighters. Why? What do they bring to the table?
Think of AWACS as a flying command post and a powerful radar station rolled into one. They give you dramatically better command and control, huge situational awareness over a vast area. They allow for airborne battle management, coordinating your own fighters, directing the air battle in real time, and they provide vital early warning against threats coming in, whether that's enemy planes or missiles. They see things ground radar can't.
So putting it all together, the J-10Cs plus the AWACS, what does that combo mean operationally? How does it change the strategic balance we were talking about?
It's not just an upgrade, like getting a slightly better plane. It enables a whole new way of operating. That combination allows for much more integrated air defense, yes, but also more coordinated offensive operations. It really does have the potential to shift the balance of power, particularly in the Persian Gulf and maybe even the Levant. Right now, you'd say Israel and the US-aligned Gulf states generally hold qualitative air superiority. This kind of capability in Iranian hands could force everyone to rethink their tactics, potentially limit freedom of movement in certain areas, change the risk calculus for any potential conflict.
And this potential deal, it's not happening out of the blue, is it? It seems to highlight a growing or maybe deepening relationship between China and Iran on defense matters. What's the background there? What's driving this closer alignment?
That's right. This defense relationship hasn't just appeared overnight. It's been growing quite steadily for, well, the last 2 decades at least. What drives it? Mutual geopolitical interests, certainly. And a shared, shall we say, resistance to Western sanctions and pressure. For China, you could argue it's about securing influence and access in a vital energy region, part of its broader global strategy, having partners who aren't tied to the West. For Iran, China is a crucial source of advanced technology, bypassing Western embargoes, and a powerful geopolitical counterweight. It's key for their strategic autonomy.
And we've seen tangible proof of this cooperation over the years, haven't we? China has supplied Iran with things like HQ-2 and HQ-7 surface-to-air missiles, various radar systems, even technology that influenced Iran's own drone programs. You can think about the Shahid Mohajer series. And naval stuff, too, like fast attack boats, anti-ship missiles. What does this long history signal?
It signals a consistent long-term strategic partnership. It's not just transactional arms sales. And beyond just selling equipment, these military ties are strengthened by things like joint naval exercises, military exchanges. We've seen Chinese and Iranian ships drilling together in the Gulf. That underscores Beijing's commitment, its strategic interest in maintaining access and influence in the Persian Gulf. It's absolutely vital for global energy flows and trade routes. It's a long game for both countries.
So let's try and wrap this up. The core impact here. If this deal goes through, Iran buying J-10Cs and AWACS from China, it marks a really significant shift in Tehran's defense strategy, moving away from reliance on Russia, at least in this area. And it obviously deepens the military ties between two nations that seem increasingly aligned against Western influence.
Exactly. And that leaves us and you with a crucial question to think about. How might bringing in these advanced systems actually change Iran's air combat doctrine? How they plan to fight, how they see their capabilities? Could it inject potentially new instability into an already very tense Middle East security picture? What does this whole move really signal about where regional power dynamics are heading? And how will all the other players involved adjust their own strategic calculations now? It definitely shifts the landscape.
Don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the biggest shifts in aerospace, geopolitics, and defense innovation.